Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Environment Minister allays fears in the wake of that oil spill on Grand Bahama.
The leader of the opposition weighs in on hurricane relief efforts following the devastation left behind by Hurricane Dorian.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, the majority of communities in East Grand Bahama are barely inhabitable following the massive storm surge, flooding and rain dumped by Hurricane Dorian. Those communities also account for the majority of the 9 confirmed dead and 30 missing on the island. They are also being continuously targeted by looters. Jerome Sawyer reports.
The first sight to greet you on the way into High Rock is rubble. The community clinic reduced to debris, as are the other buildings around it. Nearby, a group of volunteer doctors known as International Medical Corps has set up a field clinic.
So basically, we're trying to replicate the services that were here before. So we have, we're basically able to do outpatient medicine, family medicine, chronic medical conditions, as well as some, urgent care.
The further into the community you go, the scenes become more horrific. There is a long list of missing persons from this settlement, and you can see why. The structures are barely standing. Victor Roberts is grateful to be alive. A last-minute decision to go into Freeport saved his life.
I leave Sunday evening to go in Freeport. My daughter and my son and my wife, they robbed me because I say I want to ride out the storm home. And I thank God for them. First time when I saw them after the storm, I hugged them. I said, y'all get me alive today. Because everybody who was in High Rock, either they had to fight for their life or some gone. Majority of them gone.
A little further down the road, Pelican Point is a virtual ghost town. Every home, the church, vacation rentals, resort villas, all uninhabitable. Alice Lang, who has lived here for 64 years, says despite all the devastation, they are still targeted by looters.
We have that. We didn't get no support from the police like we should.
Assistant Police Commissioner Samuel Butler confirmed there are 24-hour patrols and several arrests made for taking liberties with unsecured properties.
Some persons are doing it out of criminality, that they want to go and steal. And I found that other persons are doing it out of thinking that they just can go and salvage things that are abandoned.
Now, police have confirmed that they have arrested and charged 15 suspects in connection with stealing, all related to looting activities, some of them with no prior criminal history.
All right, thanks, Jerome. Well, of the 75 million gallons of oil that spilled in Grand Bahama when Hurricane Dorian pummeled that island, only 252,000 gallons of oil has been recovered thus far, according to the Environment Minister, who said the impact on land was limited to the death of 1 goat and 3 birds. Jeline Gray reports.
The Environment Minister confirmed that at the time of the storm, there was more than 1 million barrels of oil on that site. He said that remediation has already begun and there is no immediate threat for the lives or safety of those residents in Grand Bahama.
During the passage of Hurricane Dorian, the roofs of several tanks blew off, resulting in oil being smeared across the property and neighboring forests. Equinor has increased its staff from 50 people to 200 in order to clean up the mess. Those workers are being housed at an offshore site and are being monitored for exposure to benzene.
When Hurricane Dorian struck, there was approximately 1.9 million barrels of crude oil, what they call Doba crude oil, on the site. Now, 1.8 million barrels equates to about 75 million US gallons. So that's what was on site. So far, what has been recovered has been about 6,000 barrels, which equates to about 252,000 US gallons. So that has been recovered.
Ferreira said other than a few animals, there has been little impact to the environment.
On land, we can confirm that 1 goat and 3 birds were impacted by the spill.
It's not certain how much money the company lost or is spending on this spill. Oil from the damaged tanks has been moved to remaining tanks to reduce the risk of additional spills. The Environment Minister said this spill will affect how the government proceeds with oil exploration.
The environmentalists are concerned, and they have every right to be.
12,000 cubic meters of sludge is spread across the foliage in the area and will be cleaned up and shipped out of the country to be disposed of. There is 750 cubic yards of contaminated soil, but the Environment Minister said they don't anticipate that oil will seep further into the ground.
The oil was, for the most part, unable to penetrate the limestone. Limestone has a porosity of about 30%, and you're dealing with very thick, viscous, very, very thick. Think pancake syrup, but much thicker.
The Deputy Prime Minister has said there have been wildfires in the area, but assured that they have a handle on the situation. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Former Attorney General and BAMSI Chairman Tennyson Wells has died. Tributes began pouring in today from friends and colleagues who remembered his contributions to national development.
But a good thinker, a man who can come up with a plan. And I sure will miss that man, a great man.
After over 50 years of friendship, Jerome Knowles says it was hard to get the call that his longtime friend and business partner had passed away peacefully in his sleep early Tuesday morning. He was 72. Once a political giant, Wells had been discharged from hospital days before his death. According to his son, he had been battling a series of illnesses.
He says, Jerome, I don't know if I was in a car, a truck, or a train, but it was hazy. I could not even see good, but I was just going through this road. And then all of a sudden, bam, whatever I was in stopped. And all I seen was a bed of beautiful flowers and beautiful fruit trees. I said, Tenny, my boy, you had a spiritual encounter. I said, let's pray.
Wells was a strong defender of Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, particularly during his roughest political time as opposition leader. Wells also went through the valley of darkness in his own political career, having resigned from the Ingram administration in the 90s after serving as Attorney General and Minister of Agriculture. He then went on to serve as an independent MP for Bambootown. Ingram, in a statement, expressed condolences, saying, Tennyson was politically ambitious. His resignation from cabinet to pursue the leadership of his party eventually led to a parting in our political ways, but did not diminish my opinion of him as a man dedicated to the advancement of the Bahamian people and of our country. Outside cabinet today, ministers expressed their deepest sympathies to the Wells family.
Someone who contributed significantly to this country, particularly in agriculture. He's the son of Long Island and a very proud Bahamian.
He has worked with this administration at BAMSI and has been a loyal supporter.
For Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister Michael Pintard, having Wells work under him at BAMSI was an honor.
Tennyson is going to be missed, and I believe he's inspired another generation of fearless political figures who, notwithstanding where they sat around the table, had no difficulty in speaking truth to power.
The start of the trial of former Cabinet Minister Shane Gibson has been delayed for the second day after pre-trial arguments pushed back the jury selection process. Jasmine Brown reports.
The much-anticipated trial did not begin on Tuesday morning as attorneys spent 3.5 hours conducting pre-trial arguments before presiding Justice Carolina Bethel. Those jurors were escorted in court shortly after 11 a.m. for what was expected to be the start of jury selection. However, they were escorted out of court a few minutes later. Shortly after midday, they were brought back in court only to be dismissed for the day. This is the second day jury selection did not happen despite the dozens of potential jurors and witnesses in the case showing up. Gibson was flanked in court on Tuesday by family, friends, and his legal team, which includes Damian Gomez QC, Owen Wells, Philip McKinsey, and Jamaican QC Katie Knight. Outside court, Gomez confirmed a gag order was still in place. Prosecutors allege that Gibson solicited bribes totaling $330,000 and receiving $280,000 from contractor Jonathan Ash in order to expedite payments related to the cleanup efforts following Hurricane Matthew in 2016. The case is expected to resume on Thursday morning. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The death toll from Hurricane Dorian now stands at 54. Over in Grand Bahama, 7 bodies have had autopsies completed and death certificates issued. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sant said some bodies have been turned over to families for burial.
There are 2 persons in Grand Bahama who have not been identified and who remain unidentified. All the others have been identified, and once identified and their autopsy and death certificate completed, their remains are turned over and have been turned over to their families. In Abaco, the number is less than that, but I don't have the exact number. What we would like to be able to do is to, using sanitized information, obviously, to protect the identities of those persons and their families, to give the public an understanding of that total number, how many have been identified, how many are left to be identified.
The Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama has suffered significant structural damage, rendering most of the facility unsafe. Multiple international donors have come forth to help with the $19 million price tag to renovate the building. However, Dr. Sands said the entire facility needs to be replaced. International nonprofit Samaritan's Purse has taken the majority of healthcare services and has set up a location in East Grand Bahama.
We also have the support of a number of non-governmental organizations and emergency medical teams in Abaco. So the hope is that the Bahamian health professionals have an opportunity to get their lives back together again, as a number of these organizations have committed to be with us for as much as 120 days. So if we can get the RAND functioning again, if we can get our clinics functioning again, let people recover some sense of normalcy to their life, then maybe we can resume ordinary services.
Still to come, 70,000 storm survivors to benefit from government incentives. Stay tuned.